He awoke to the sound of faint, distant footsteps, quiet and smooth, the steps of a man who doesn't like to be heard. The door creaked loudly, flooding the room with blinding torchlight, prompting him to shield his eyes with his arm. A shadowy figure entered and shut the door behind him. Another round of beatings, he mused in his head. They never seemed to learn. No matter how many beatings he got, he remained resolute in his vow not to talk, not even one word. That angered them the most. The man hung the torch and settled across from him, the intensity of the light easing. In its softer glow, he could make out the penetrating, steel-gray eyes fixed upon him. The face was unfamiliar. "What is your name?" the man asked. The question hung in the air, accompanied only by the crackling of flames casting flickering shadows around them. "What is your name?" the man repeated after a few moments. A weary half-chuckle escaped him at the man's persistence. It seemed a cycle, each newcomer believing they held some unique power to extract words from him. "He ain't talking, not even one word." "You will tell me everything," the man said quietly. Raising his head defiantly, he met the man's steely gaze with a faint, derisive smirk dancing at the corners of his lips. But his confidence shattered when an unexpected sensation grazed his feet and buttocks. His hands shot up, coming away slick and wet. Glancing downward, he found water seeping across the dungeon floor, rapidly rising. Panic surged within him as the water quickly consumed the cell, submerging everything in its path. In a frantic moment, he expelled the last remnants of air from his lungs, suffocation looming as the water enveloped him, chains preventing him from fleeing. Gasping for breath, his body convulsed in desperation, a plea for air torn from his throat. Amidst the chaos, he suddenly realized the man still sat opposite him, unfazed, fixated with unyielding intensity on him. Did he not notice the flooding? Did he not need air to breathe? There was no time to figure it out. Agony pierced his chest, life slipping away in a torrent of pain and helplessness. It was the end, his last moment slipping away as he faced the inevitability of death. "What is your name?" The man's voice shattered the silence. Reality clawed back, leaving him bewildered and breathless. No water surrounded him. He remained seated on the chilly floor, bound by chains, drenched in sweat, and gasping for air, his breaths coming in desperate gulps. "What?" His voice faltered into a whisper, his eyes darting around in disbelief. Where had the water gone? Hadn't he just faced imminent death? How was he still alive? "Your name," the man persisted. "What? What did you do?" he demanded, confusion and disbelief swirling within him. A faint smile lingered at the corners of the man's lips. "Your name," he repeated. With a heavy exhale, he hung his head, feeling the weight of his own breath. He recognized his error immediately. He had broken his vow. He'd spoken a word, even a few of them. That was a grave mistake. One word could quickly unfurl into damning sentences, divulging all he had resolved to keep hidden. After a few moments of silence, he stole a glance at the man. The man's gaze remained fixed on him, unyielding. Yet something else caught his attention. A presence behind the man. Small, furry silhouettes. He blinked, trying to dispel the confusion clouding his vision. Only when the low growls reached his ears did realization dawn upon him. Wolves, a pack of them, were inside the cell, their predatory gazes fixed upon him with hunger and aggression. What is going on? Where did these beasts come from? Panic and dread surged within him, cold sweat tracing a chilling path down his spine. Despite the encroaching danger, the man across from him remained seated, unperturbed, oblivious to the impending threat. Could he not hear the wolves approach? His attempts to signal them and convey the impending danger dissolved into incomprehensible sounds falling on deaf ears. The creatures advanced, a creeping horror inching closer. Desperation seized him as he gestured wildly, but the man, an immovable statue, betrayed no reaction. Then, With horrifying swiftness, the pack leaped, ignoring the gray-eyed man and sinking their teeth directly into his flesh. A blood-curdling scream pierced the air as they tore into him, tearing at his limbs and his torso, ravaging his very being. Agony engulfed him as they feasted upon his body, a familiar terror replaying itself, the inevitability of becoming the wolves' next meal. And in the middle of all of this, the man remained unchanged, fixated with his unwavering, grim, gray-eyed stare. Amid the excruciating ordeal, death came for him once again. Your name. The man's voice, as calm as ever, pierced through the chaos. Once again, he found himself back in his chains, alive but battered, the searing pain of the bites still reverberating through his body. "Who are you?" he bellowed, panting and shaken to the core. "What did you do?" "First, you will tell me your name." The man spoke with an unsettling calmness. Silence stood as his staunch refusal. Nothing, not even his name, would be given away. "I know more about you than you think," the man said. "You're a soldier, I can tell, a seasoned one at that, loyal and ambitious, the kind the military knows to appreciate. Your talent for magic and your strategic mindset helped you quickly rise through the ranks, haven't they?" The man's gray eyes were reading him closely, yet he remained steadfastly silent. "But the military could not satisfy your ambition. No, you wanted more, you aimed much higher." A shadow of a smile crept across the man's face. "We are alike in that regard." He chuckled. His attention was wavering. His throat was dry, his eyes were heavy, and his stomach demanded food. "Ha! If you know so much, then why are you here?" he retorted. The weariness in his voice was apparent. "You will tell me everything I want to know, starting with your name." The man's eyes remained fixed on him, unyielding, as always. "Refuse, and you will keep dying 100 deaths, each more agonizing than the last." "Go to hell," he spat defiantly as the cell was slowly engulfed by creeping crimson flames.